Hey guys, it's Will from RIF REV. So what I'm going to be talking about now is part 2 of the two-part video I'm making about Zed Syndrome. As I mentioned in the previous video, what Zed Syndrome is referring to hyperflexion both at the hips and also at the knees. So that's when you see runners sink, particularly when they get tired in a run. So for this section I'm going to be talking about how to prevent hyperflexion at the hips. So through the knee it was all about trying to prevent that the onset of inflammation. At the hips it's about trying to straighten up to try and reduce those pressures and increase our ability to absorb pressure through our pelvis. Uniquely, Homo sapiens, human beings, we have a pretty large pelvis, and that's what makes us really good at running amongst other factors. And compared with, say, Neanderthals in the history, Neanderthals had a really small pelvis, and that's why they were unable to run over large distances. You'll see with African runners or runners in more ethnic sort of populations that they're a lot straighter through there, particularly because they walk more and they run more. So a lot of runners who are from the poorer backgrounds generally are straighter through that area naturally from running to school or running to get water, whereas you'll see in a western sort of population that we tend to slouch just a little bit, and that's from driving a lot or sitting down at work or just having a slightly higher level of sedentary behaviours in our day-to-day lives. But what we really need to focus on as a runner is staying straight through that area. So here's my tip for trying to maintain that and prevent that sinking through the hips. As you run, what you'll start to feel when you get tired is finding it more difficult to stay long and tall. To try and prompt yourself to stay straighter through the hips and prevent that hyperflexion, think about just lifting from the bottom of the rib cage. That's something that helps me straight away to lengthen through that area and straighten up, and straight away I get taller out of the middle part of my body, and that reduces the pressure on my lower body and helps me to be more efficient. So same again guys, when you're running, just focus on picking up from the bottom of the rib cage, and that helps to engage that core and for you to stay straighter through those hips. It's really important to keep that core strength to a high level, so working those obliques and working all of the 4 areas in your core, because if you only get the top layers, it's really difficult to sustain that good posture. If you work all those 4 areas, I always say to people it's a bit like having really tight brakes on your bike. If they're nice and tight, you only need to touch the brake and your bike will stop. If they're weak, you have to pull them extra hard, and it takes a lot more time and it's more effort. So it's the same with your core. If you've got a good strong core, all you need to do is basically lift that from the bottom of the rib cage just slightly, and you'll engage and you'll be able to hold that position for a longer period. What makes the marathon runners so unique is that they can sustain that so easily over that long distance with a slight forward leaning position, whereas in a Western culture we may struggle just that little bit more because we don't have that natural core strength. But it's really important to get that core strength, guys, and work on that when you're away from your running. So just to summarize, guys, make sure as a runner that we're not sinking and you're not starting to hyperflex through that area. You want to think about lifting from the bottom of a rib cage, so strengthening that core, but also as well doing some hip flexor stretching exercises and strengthening exercises to help you to lengthen out through that area. We've previously done a video on strengthening and stretching the hip flexors, so I definitely suggest for you to check them out too, because that helps you to get that length through that area. So that's the second part, guys, of preventing that Zed syndrome, making sure that we're not going to be sinking from now on in our running, and ensuring that we're going to be keeping that nice tall position when we run to keep that efficiency and increase our movement lever and make us better runners overall. So this is Will from the Running Injury Free Revolution. Check out more videos at www.rifrev.com. Thanks guys.